This was written in November 2019 and presented on January 19, 2020. It was relevant then and perhaps even more so now. Georgia blew my mind in 2019, moving past dreams to action. I am a black woman, 70 years of age, the matriarch of my family. Grandparents, parents, aunts, and uncles all deceased. Neither the maternal nor paternal sides of the family were prolific, with few children born into each generation. Of my generation, there remains only my year younger brother, 2 younger cousins, and myself. Nor were we very communicative. Silence was a strong component of getting along in both sides of my family. I have experienced both gender and racial discrimination in housing, employment, and education. I fought back using the laws and tools available to me. When none were available or were unsuccessfully wielded, I found ways to get over it and move on. I never asked about our family histories. There were no Bibles or other artifacts listing marriages, births, christenings, or deaths. The development of and interest in companies such as Ancestry.com and 23andMe were long in the future, and I was never very curious about my heritage anyway, feeling there was little way to learn. I did know that my paternal great-grandmothers, she lived to 103, parents were slaves, and that she was born free. I knew that my father was raised in Kentucky and that my maternal side of the family migrated to the Chicago, Illinois, and northern Indiana area from Nashville. That's it. I worked the census verifying addresses for the 2020 count. My division in Tampa, Florida completed our assignment quickly. Georgia had few workers and vast territories that needed completion, so I was among 20 from Florida who went to Vidalia, Georgia, to work for 2 weeks in primarily extremely rural areas. Driving to my assigned location one morning, I passed a field that was recognizable, though not instantly, as a cotton field. I've of course seen cotton in its final state, but never before seen it growing in a field except in movies, on television, or in pictures. I wear cotton clothing, as most people do. Never have I had a negative thought or reaction until that day. As I recognized the field for what it was, my stomach clenched, my heart rate sped up, and I had a feeling of despair. I did nothing but continue to drive. Each time I passed another cotton field that day, and the next, my reaction was the same. The feelings became so disturbing that I finally could no longer ignore them. When I reached a point where I could safely pull to the side of the road, I dug deep into myself and asked the hard questions. Why am I feeling this way? I have no stories that relate to this. I have no associations with this. I have no memories, no personal struggles that have been shared with me. Why? I finally surmised the answer, and even now as I type this, I am overcome with the feelings of despair and anguish that could have been my life. Born in a different time, those are fields where I might have been forced to work and bleed. That had the Civil War ended with a different victor, my life could have been one of that kind of degradation and torture today. Get over it is a popular clapback when African Americans talk about the past and its ramifications on the present. I didn't know I even had anything to get over until the deep fear that resides in my bones sprang to the fore because of a concrete visual of where I could have spent my life under other circumstances. I didn't consciously know, yet a part of me did. I had the talks with my children that Caucasian parents don't have to have. I have ignored taunts delivered by people who had the need to feel superior. I have cried privately over opportunities that, based on my abilities, should have been mine, but were given to others. I have suppressed my anger when made to jump through hoops that others did not. These were all things in my present that I knew I must and could and were dealt with. My drive through rural Georgia solidified for me what I already knew. Slavery didn't go away. It morphed. It became poverty, redlining, and other forms of discrimination in housing and employment, voting impediments, schools separate and never equal, a prison pipeline, and murder by "I feared for my life, stop resisting while I shoot you full of electricity" cop. Where 2/3 of the citizens of Florida votes yes on Amendment 4 to restore voting rights to returning citizens, and the white, aristocratic legislature found the loophole to override the will of the people. This unknown grief and fear of a past I never lived has shaken me. It has made me look at my life, my world, differently. Not since my childhood have I walked into a restaurant and thought, "Am I really welcome here?" But I did while I was in Georgia. When I went into the jacuzzi at the hotel, my thoughts turned to the knowledge that I would have once been banned because people worried that our color skin could contaminate the water. I remembered my thoughts as a teenager, wondering why Caucasians work so hard to tan and attain skin the color of mine when it was so despised on my body. Are my reactions in part caused by the current climate of hate that is rampant and an environment that becomes more hostile every day? Is it because I have lived through the civil rights movement expecting improvements to continue on an upward path and am seeing a downward trend as bad or worse than when I was a child? I don't have the answers to my own questions. I know only that I am working to heal my heart, to excise the pain and refrain from despair, and to share. To put the word out that others who feel like me have a responsibility to share. Those who need to learn can only learn if the information is out there. They can only partake of what is available. I read something recently that has become my focus. Picture 3 people of different heights, tall, medium, and short, standing behind a wooden fence to watch an event. Provide each with a box 1 foot tall. The tall person doesn't need it. The medium person can now see over the fence, and the short person still can't see. That's equality, equal treatment, one size fits all. Equity gives every person what she or he needs. The tall person needs nothing. The medium height person needs 1 box, and the short person needs 2 boxes. They can all now see. Equity. That's what I thought I had been striving for all my life, as an investigator with a civil rights agency, as a teacher, as a parent. All persons getting what they need to move ahead. I knew that people resent this. They see it as a handout more often than a hand up. They see it as something being taken away from them and given to someone, thing, less deserving. I now know that what I want is justice. I think I always did. Justice removes the fence or makes it one that can be seen through. I want us to remove the impediments that prevent growth, that prevent safety, that prevents peace. Shortly after I returned from Georgia, I traveled to Maine to visit family and friends. I went to a concert one evening, and the black singer, a man born and raised in Macon, Georgia, sang a song he wrote about his need to leave Georgia and his ultimate return. The universe closing the gap? Will the justice we've never had be attainable? Difficult. Yet with the will, the commitment, and the hard work completed by people in love and faith? Yes. I have hope that with justice I will no longer fear the cotton fields. I've spoken for 9 minutes without speaking of the man whom we come to honor today, Martin Luther King Jr. And yet I feel that all I have shared and what I will ask of you honors him. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars, to change the world. Harriet Tubman. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of his dreams on an August day. His dreams, only in part, have become reality. In his words, there are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating, "For whites only." We can never be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. I quote Miriam Anderson, "None of us is responsible for the complexion of our skin. This fact offers no clue to the character or quality of the person." And yet, the police issues continue. 1. For selling cigarettes on a public street resulting in a stranglehold that results in death. 2. For running from a traffic stop resulting in death from multiple shots in the back. The justice system fails when a person is absolved in the death of a black teen walking in a neighborhood wearing a hoodie. We are able to seek and gain lodging in motels and hotels, but redlining and discrimination in housing, both rental and purchase, persists. The inequities in education, employment, and wages prevent too many from moving on up, even if the other impediments weren't present. The "For whites only" signs are gone, replaced by cell phone calls to the police on blacks who wait for friends in a Starbucks, barbecue in a park, sleep in a public room in their dorm building, check into their rented Airbnb accommodation, and babysit their white friends' children. Replaced by children being excluded from school because they wear their hair in traditional African American styles, braids, locks, or afros. Where a young man was humiliated in a gymnasium full of people when told by a referee that he had to choose to either have his locks cut then and there or forfeit his opportunity to wrestle for his team. Where a black woman in the workplace knows that she may be looked at as not professional unless her hair conforms to the white image of beautiful hair. Where the military told African American women, who, if called upon to put their lives in harm's way, were told that braids were unacceptable and only relented when the outcry was too loud to ignore. So much for his dream that one day this nation would rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, where all men are created equal and not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I believe that more important than his dreams, he lived a life working to make those dreams reality. The work remains for us, individually and as groups, to continue to create reality out of those dreams, to select a concrete area of concern that can be turned around. The mountains that stand in the way have increased in height over the last few years. The bombardment of hostility, negativity, and setbacks and pushback create fatigue, which makes it hard to continue. That one more meeting, that one more phone call to a legislative member, that one more letter or email that needs to be sent, and that one more march for women, for Black Lives Matter, for immigrant justice, for citizen reentry, for children. The poem by Langston Hughes, A Dream Deferred, exemplifies why Dr. King's dreams could only be a beginning. Mr. Hughes wrote, "What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore, and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust over and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? I am here to share with you a need, and as a UU congregation, and as individuals who believe in UU principles, I expect you to act upon it. We will have neither justice nor peace in this world until we each realize that it begins with the actions that we each take. The actions you have taken up to this point are not enough. They will never be enough until justice has been obtained for every black, brown, yellow, white, poor, red, child, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and other abled person. And so I come to the end. If we were today in a black, African, Methodist, Episcopal, or Baptist church, now would be the time for a call to the altar. Instead, I'm issuing a call to action by closing with these 3 final points. 1. Redefine your socially conscious dreams as working goals, listing the actions it will take to make it so. Make a plan and be sure to add a timetable. Without deadlines, goals fall into the open pit of good intentions unacted upon. 2. To prevent fatigue and burnout, create or recover a dream deferred. Always wanted to paint? Go back to school? Have lunch with your grade schooler in the cafeteria? Take steps to act. Paints and paper are cheap and inexpensive. Take one class as a start. Pick a day and enjoy your lunch with your child. Taking care of your own needs first allows you to better take care of others. Begin now to make your personal dream your reality. 3. We are truly in perilous times. Are you registered to vote? Are your adult children and grandchildren registered? Have you talked with your aunts, uncles, and cousins? Your best friend and neighbors? If you haven't asked them, now is the time. Assumptions can't be made. These conversations must be had, and perhaps not just once. I can think of no greater action to take than this. I end with a personal experience that pains me still today, 57 years after it occurred. I began junior high determined to be one of 2 recipients of the American Legion Award, given to the top boy and girl at 8th grade graduation. I worked hard. Before awards night, I was told that my teachers had selected me. But the American Legion refused to give it to a colored girl. My teachers refused to withdraw my name, and a compromise was reached. 3 awards were given that year. 1 to a white boy, 1 to a white girl, and 1 to me. Tears still threaten when I remember my walk across the stage as one of 3 instead of 2. Pain is fresh today as then. Thank you for your attention today. It is possible that everything I said could have been summed up in 2 sentences. The first from Anne Frank. How wonderful it is that nobody has to wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Make today the moment that you begin to act each and every day. And quoting Miriam Anderson once again, I always bear in mind that my mission is to leave behind me the kind of impression that will make it easier for those who follow. I believe there can be no peace without justice, which leads me to ask, what is your mission, and what are you going to do that will make justice easier, not only for those who follow, but also for those who are here now?